Now your host.
Oh, welcome to the outlet with Kei-Touch. Look, I'm just so excited. So excited to be here with you on this Memorial Day weekend with Bobby Broome. Bobby Broome Aquatics, Bobby Broome Productions. Bobby, welcome to the outlet with Kei-Touch.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you having me here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you, man. I mean, the summertime is officially kicking off. Well, unofficial, but officially this holiday marks the beginning of summer. And it's all about the water in the summertime. It's hot. People want to cool off. And that's where BobbyBroomeAquatics.com comes into play. Bobby, how long have you loved the water? How long have you been a
Oh my
swimmer?
God. At least 50 years, 55 years. I've loved the water.
Wow.
Yeah. I know I look good. I look young, but I got a little age on me.
Yeah, because I was like, I didn't think it was possible for it to be longer than you've been alive, but I guess you just told black doesn't crack. We love
It don't
that.
crack, do
No,
it?
especially when you are taking care of yourself and you're doing your physical fitness. And we're going to get all into that when we're talking about the water. What drew you to swimming though? What made you just love the water and just made you just I just want to swim all the time before we even get into the business?
Well, fortunately, I had parents who decided that I needed to learn how to swim. I was fortunate that there was a YMCA about maybe 2 miles from my house. So even as I got a little older, I could literally ride my bike to the Y. My parents didn't have to drop me off and all that. So I learned how to swim. But unfortunately, it took 2 years for me to learn how to swim. And then when I got to the point to where I was teaching swimming, I was like, it's never going to take anybody 2 years to learn how to swim from me. But I used to go to summer camp. I had an older brother, so I was able to go to overnight camp with my brother when I was 7. Um, and so, that's where I was introduced to open water, which is something that I really love. And that's actually what I was doing all day today. I was training lifeguards all day today before I came here.
Oh, that's
So,
pretty cool. That's one of the first jobs a lot of teenagers have is becoming a lifeguard.
yeah.
So the people you were training today, since you went there, about what was the age range?
These were kids who were 16 to college students because this is a lake out in Virginia, Lake Barcroft. It's a private lake. We've got 5 beaches, and it's open water. And yeah, those kids are very well trained.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Again, Bobby Broome from BobbyBroomeAquatics.com.
Yeah, yeah.
Bobby, yes, I know it must be busy right now. I know your phone and your emails are going crazy. The parents want to get their kids to learn how to swim and give them
Yes, they
something
do.
to do this summer. Some adults may want to learn how to do something. Some senior citizens may have recently retired and may want to learn how to swim. Tell me who have been your client base or the biggest client base in the past month?
Okay, well, all ages, all levels, but most of the students start out at about 3 years old. So, I have some babies. We start them at 6 months. And so those are the parent and child classes. But most of my students start at about 3. So between 3 and 6 are like the bulk of my students. And then of course I have maybe, sprinkle in some adults, all ages. Some adults that are like in their 20s or 30s that never learned how to swim, but they want to learn how to swim. And then of course older adults, like you said, that now they're older and they are retired and they just want to, just swim for exercise, which I always say that you can swim until your last breath. So even when you're older and you can't really walk too well, you can't, play basketball anymore or jump rope or do all the things, play tennis, all that kind of stuff, you can always swim until your last breath.
And that's a great thing to point out. You can swim into your last breath. So you're never too old to learn how to swim and never too old to swim. And it's really amazing because it's a low impact sport on your body, even though it will wear you out. You will not sweat or see your sweat because you're in water, but you
Right.
get a workout. You get a workout. Try walking in the shallow end and keep trying to do that.
Well, and actually, and it's basically, I tell people this when I tell them this, it's like, what do you mean? Swimming is 4 to 1 to dry land. So here's what I mean. Swimming a mile is basically equivalent to running 4 miles. And that's because the pressure of the water around your body makes it 4 times harder for your lungs to expand. So you're getting a
Mm.
4 times of a workout, although it doesn't feel like it on your knees and things like that, because you're not, it's low impact, as you said. But your body, your internal organs are actually working harder.
Am I correct in saying that's a full body workout?
Yeah. Depending on obviously what you're doing, whether you're swimming, and there's water exercise. Even people who don't know how to swim, you don't have to know how to swim to enjoy aquatics. Water exercise is amazing exercise for people, and it doesn't have to be deep water. It could be shallow water. There's a lady named Jeannie Johnson who does water exercise over at Waterside Fitness and Swim Club, which is where my swim school is. And she is literally the best exercise instructor I've ever been around. She's a sharp lady, and they do aqua cycle and things like that. So they put the bikes in there and aqua
Oh
cycle.
my goodness.
So there's a lot of, I used to train a boxer, for example, and I used to
Mm.
have him doing a lot of, water exercise along with swimming, so there's a lot of ways to work out in the pool. And, football players and stuff, they do a lot of exercise, rehabbing in the pool to rehab from their injuries, a lot of running and stuff like that. It's not so much swimming. Swimming is great, but there's a lot of ways to get good exercise in the water.
Hear that? Bobby Broome Aquatics.com. And that's why it's called aquatics, because you don't necessarily have to swim, but we are getting the workout in the water. And as he said, it's a low impact sport. It is Memorial Day weekend now. And this is the time everyone wants to go to the beach or go to the pools, go to the neighborhood pools. Just like Bobby said, he just got through training some lifeguards, 16 to 22 or something like that.
Yeah,
They're
basically,
out
yeah.
there doing it because it is that time of year. Do not be afraid. Bobby, what words do you have for someone who say, I'm just afraid of the water?
Um, it's okay to be afraid. Fear, I always say fear is the first sign of intelligence, right? But you can learn as long as you let's put it this way. I always say I can teach anybody how to swim as long as you want to learn. No matter how afraid you are, you can learn. And it all starts with breath control. Once you learn good, once you learn to control your breathing, we call it rhythmic breathing, that will relax you. So breath control, relaxation, body position are the three key factors of learning to swim and swimming well. So breath control begets relaxation. And then once you can relax, you can control your body and put your body in the proper position for swimming. So basically, when you're swimming on your front, face down, ears in the water, your body rises. When you're on your back, head back, ears in the water, your body rises. So for those people who are afraid, remember two things. If you ever fall in the water, you go underwater, before you go under, take a breath and hold it. Don't fight, because if you fight, then you're just going to sink. But if you hold your breath and just relax, you're going to float to the top. You'll never sink, you'll never drown. And when you get to the top, put your head all the way back and your body will float up. And if you're not as buoyant, let's say you're muscular, very muscular, or and very thin, then you're not going to float as easy as other people, but you can still float. So you might just need to kick up a little bit. But you put your head all the way back and everything will go underwater except for your face. And that's
Wow.
what you want. You want your face to be out of the water so you can breathe. And if you feel like you're going under, take a breath and hold it, and you'll float right back to the top.
Look, it's the outlet with Kei-Touch here with Bobby Broome, Bobby Broome Aquatics.com. We are talking about getting in the water, learning to swim. And on the other side, we're going to talk to him about the parents and maybe some of their fears and what age they should get their young ones swimming. And we're going to also find out where he's located. He's located close to a landmark in DC, if you ask me. Look at the outlet with Kei-Touch. Stay with us. Welcome back to the outlet with Kei-Touch. Yes, I am here with Bobby Broome, Bobby Broome Aquatics.com. Bobby, growing up in Houston, I learned how to swim. I don't even remember when I learned how to swim, but I just love the water. I'm born in the summertime. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I just love the water. And I was at the YMCA during the summer, so I thought that was interesting what you said. And every other day we went swimming. And I remember my uncle would take me all the time to swimming in his apartments, but I never was afraid of the water. And it seems like a lot of children are not afraid of the water. Speak to us about that and some of the parents' concerns about them just jumping in water.
Well, I mean, no child is exactly the same. Let's start there. Some
Mhm.
children are terrified. Some kids are, you have to teach them how to swim before they kill themselves because they're not afraid at all. So that's a big spectrum. I would say that a lot of fear comes from the parents. They get their fear from their parents
Mm.
because, the parents are fearful and they put that fear onto the children, probably not even knowing that they're doing it. But but they put that fear on their parents. So if the parent is confident, then the child is going to be confident. And children, they don't do anything you say. They only do what they see. You're their example, so you can tell them things all you want. But if they see you doing something, like if they see you swimming and enjoying the water, they're probably going to want to swim and enjoy the water. So, but for those parents who are afraid, just don't put your fear onto them, but also have a healthy fear of the water. We always say that water can be your best friend, but it can be a deadly enemy to those who are unaware of what is safe. And that's what we teach at our swim school, not just how to swim, but how to be safe in, on, and around the water. And we also teach the parents, because I'm one of those instructors. A lot of swim schools you go and they want the parents to go somewhere else. I want the parents to be right there so they can see how they're being taught and understand how to supervise their child. The only time I'll ask a parent to walk away for a few minutes is if they're looking to the parent to co-sign their fear. And I happen to be one of those people. I'm a parent, so that's my advantage as an instructor. So I know how to basically go parental on a child in a second, and get them to understand that this is what you have to do, whether you want to or not. We still have to learn, and I'm going to help you through your fear. I'm not going to dunk you or anything like that. I'm not going to torment you or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm going to get you through your fear, and I'm going to push you to do things that you're afraid of. And it seems like it just always worked. Now at our pool, when I ask the parents to walk away, like I work at Waterside Fitness and Swim Club. That's where my primary location is. In there's a lot of pillars where parents can go and hide, where they can still see what's going on, but the kid can't see them. So it's literally like the perfect location for teaching swimming, because we have a shallow end and a deep end. So there's a shallow end where they can stand, but of course the whole point is to learn how to swim in deep water. So as they get comfortable with the drills that we build a routine of drills, and then eventually we adjust them to deep water. And then of course they're swimming in deep water.
That is awesome. Bobby Broome Aquatics.com. I know it is filling up. Give us an idea about how you work schedules for swim. Like if I wanted to start learning how to swim with you, what would that schedule look like? or how would
Well,
I go
the
about that?
way we do it now, I don't do group lessons anymore because basically I got to the point to where I just didn't want to work that hard anymore. And when COVID hit, when COVID hit, um, before I was doing group lessons, it'd be basically be 4 to a class. And then when COVID hit, we had to switch to privates, and I got real comfortable in that space. Um, and so the way I do it now, there's 4 lessons over a period of 5 weeks. I do 2 sessions per season. So right now, like today is the last day of the spring session, and then we pick it up in the summer. I have 2 summer sessions, summer session 1, summer session 2. So 4 lessons over a period of 5 weeks with 1 makeup class built into the session. Because, things always happen. The pool might get shut down. The parent might not be able to be there. Instructor might not be able to be there, but at least I have 1 makeup built into the session. Now, if we make all 4 lessons, then the 5th lesson is just a bonus because we have to be there anyway. So come on in, get that 5th lesson. And I encourage people to try not to miss any lessons because I really want them to get that free lesson, right? So they're half-hour lessons. And right now we're there only on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So if you go to my website, you'll see the schedule and you'll see how that breaks down. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. We're there Wednesdays and Fridays, starting at about 3 o'clock to 6:30 or 7 o'clock, and on our Saturdays from 11 o'clock all day long until 5. So they're broken up, and I have 1 other instructor working with me. His name is Matthew, who's really good. He's been with me for 3 years, and he's doing an amazing job. Um, I've taught him to teach like I teach because I have a reputation on Capitol Hill. It's like I don't advertise, but I'm always busy, and that's when you're busy because of word of mouth. Um, and you have to sign up early because people are already registering for the fall session. Summer
Wow.
session 1 is already completely booked. Summer session 2 is getting close to being booked. And the best way to book is to go to my website and just kind of see what the dates are and then call me. My phone number is there, 818-795-8810. You call me, I'll find a place for you on the schedule, and then once you're on the schedule, your spot is locked in, and we show up, we do our job, and we get results.
That's what it's all about. Look, so when does summer session 2 start since summer session 1 is out the question?
Summer session 2 is the 3rd week in July. The 3rd week
Okay.
in July. Let me see. I can pull it up real quick here.
So go to BobbyBroomeAquatics.com to get locked in. And he also has the fall session available as well.
Yeah. People already sign up for the fall. So yeah, summer session 2 is it's July 23rd to August 20th is the first Wednesday. So Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Wow. That's amazing. BobbyBroomeAquatics.com. So Bobby, do you also like aquariums and stuff? Are you a water guy or just a swim water guy?
I'm mainly a swim water guy. I mean, I don't have an aquarium now. But I have a lot of plants, a lot of herbal plants. We'll talk about that, I guess, when we get to that side of my life.
Yes, I mean, that's Bobby Broome doing all these amazing things right now. We're on the water side going swimming. That is amazing. My favorite thing to do is dive off of the diving board. And just like you said, you have to move to go deep. So I feel like I'm a fish trying to touch the bottom of the pool on the deep end. That used to just fascinate me. Do you are you fascinated like that about just going deep and touching the bottom of the pool?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The bottom of the pool, bottom of the ocean, the lake. Like today, we were doing a lost swimmer search. And that's where you go, down in like 20 feet of water and search the bottom of the lake, get your hand all down in the muck and look for dead bodies if they, because if you got a lost swimmer, you got to go find them. Right.
Wow. That's pretty cool. You teach that with lifeguard
training? Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. That is
Absolutely.
so interesting. Oh my goodness. I was talking to my best friend yesterday, and she was talking about going scuba diving and how she is certified to do that and how much fun it is and how peaceful it is to be that far down. But
Hmm.
also saying that you have to have be able to control your breathing because some like our brother can't last more than 30 minutes that deep, but she
Yeah,
can last an hour. So I think that was just so interesting. I'm not ready to do scuba diving, but I do want to go jet skiing, and I
yeah.
love
That's
the
all fun. I
water.
love all that.
I love the water. But look, get your spots. Go ahead and reserve now. BobbyBroomeAquatics.com. Bobby, for everyone in the DMV, let them know what landmark you're located close to, right next to.
We are right next door to the arena stage. 901 6th Street Southwest is the Waterside Fitness and Swim Club. And in the summertime, they actually have an outdoor. We do our lessons on the indoor pool, but they have an outdoor pool. So if you want to buy a membership at Waterside, they do a terrific job of maintaining a good, healthy, clean environment. People love it there. It's right there, Southwest DC.
That is cool. And so when people come for swimming lessons, is there a shower available? They're able to change. How does all that work?
We definitely want them to shower before they get in the pool because we want to keep the pool clean. There are locker rooms. There's in the front there's the men and women's locker room, and of course they have a steam and sauna in there. And see, Waterside really is an adult club. They just let me do lessons there, and I've been doing lessons there since 2010 now. But in the back, we call it the family locker room. So like if a father brings his daughter, he can use the locker room in the back. And if a mother brings a son, they use the locker room in the back. We really don't want the children in the front locker rooms because those are like members and a lot of them are older and things like that. So we have family locker rooms in the back for those situations as well.
That is so cool. Look, it's the outlet with Kei-Touch with Bobby Broome, Bobby Broome Aquatics. And like Bobby said, this is just part of his life. We're going to talk about Bobby Broome Productions on the other side, BobbyBroomeProductions.com. It's the outlet with Kei-Touch. Stay with us.
Nice. I love the branding.
Welcome back to the outlet with Kei-Touch. Oh, I am here with Bobby Broome. Look, we were talking about Bobby Broome Aquatics. Now we're talking about Bobby Broome Productions, BobbyBroomeProductions.com. Bobby, tell us where you went to college.
I graduated from Grambling State University.
Oh, HBCU
And
in
you
the
know it.
booth. I love
That's,
it.
that's
Yes.
right.
Oh my gosh. So before we get into the productions, I love the marching band at Grambling. Oh my goodness.
They're the
And
best in the world.
I have to get to a Bayou Classic. I have to get to a Bayou Classic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We crush it every
And
year.
for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Southern University and Grambling State University. It goes down annually in New Orleans.
Right,
It's
right.
just a
That
sight
Thanksgiving weekend, that Saturday.
every Saturday. I mean, every Saturday after
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Oh
That's
my
right.
goodness, it
Yeah.
goes down. So tell us a little bit about what you studied, and so we can kick off
Well,
Bobby Broome
I
Productions.
I got my degree in radio and television, which is a
Oh,
communications degree. Yeah, my degree is in radio and television. And my very first job in the business, I was actually still a student, and I was a production assistant on a movie called Grambling's White Tiger, starring LeVar Burton and Harry Belafonte.
what?
And yeah, that was my first job in the business. Worked for they did how long? It was 3 weeks, 5 weeks. 5 weeks. I actually got excused from classes to do the job. And the very next semester, another production company came in, Paisley Productions, and they did a Coca-Cola commercial. And so I was like, my roommate Frank, I found out that they were there. I went back home. I said, Frank, come on, man, let's go get a job. Because at this point, we know now who to ask for a job, how to get the job, right? So we went and found a producer, and we were in Eddie Robinson's office, the famous Eddie Robinson. And we walked in there, and Eddie was like, "Well, those you guys right there." And we got hired. And on that job, see, on the movie, I made $50. What did we make? $50 a day. So we made $250 a week, right? On the commercial, we made $100 a day. And when you're a college student in 1983, $100 a day is a whole lot of money. We paid off our phone bills and all kinds of stuff. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to Hollywood when I graduate. So of course I left, went to Hollywood, started working in production as a production assistant, eventually started working as a camera assistant, working on shows like The Wonder Years and Rags to Riches and all these shows.
Wow.
And then I started directing music videos. But then along the line, I became a parent of a single little girl. I have two boys, and they were raised by their mother in Chicago. But my daughter, her name is Bobby as well, grew up with me. And I wound up having to raise her. It's a long story behind that, but that's okay. I wound up with full custody. And so I said, well, I need to come home at a regular time every day, which is how I eventually wound up in aquatics, because that was something I could always do, because I was a lifeguard, a beach lifeguard in Chicago and all that stuff, because I grew up in Chicago. So my daughter is she's off doing her thing. She actually works for ABFF, American Black Film Festival. She's the
Wow.
assistant to Jeff, the CEO. But she got her degree from Kent State, and then she went and got her master's at USC in film and television production. And so now she's in that whole film festival circuit and doing amazing things. But so now I'm back to creating content. So now that she's off doing her thing, so that's why I have two sides of my life. I have my aquatic side, and I have my business, which has been doing well. And it was, I actually got here. I used to work for the Red Cross. The way I got to DC in the first place, I was recruited by the Red Cross. So I was basically writing books for the Red Cross, right? I helped develop the swimming and water safety program. And when you a technical writer, you work on all different projects like lifeguarding, emergency medical response, nursing assistant all the programs. We developed those courses. And then I eventually stopped and I said, well, I was making okay money, but it didn't seem like enough. So I started my business, wound up working half the time, making twice the money, and I never looked back. So, but now I'm back into production, and I have my show now, A Holistic Journey, which is on Amazon and TUBI. And
Wow, wait, okay, so we have to pause. I mean, because you just unloaded,
a whole
unpacked
lot of
a
stuff.
lot. So let's go back. Let's go
Yeah.
back to your first project while you were in college. Let's name those people again. You said LeVar Burton. You're talking about LeVar Burton from Roots and
Yeah.
Reading Rainbow, LeVar Burton?
That LeVar, Harry Belafonte, Dennis Haysbert, Allstate, that guy. He was in
Yeah.
it.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see who else is in there.
Wait, and then you talked about the legendary late Eddie Robinson, who was responsible for bringing so many Black players into the NFL from Grambling. We cannot forget that.
Coach Rob was an amazing cat, man. He was,
Uh,
I didn't, I knew him because I didn't play football there, but I had interactions with him partly because of the movie that we did, but my department was in the same building as theirs, so in
oh,
Dunbar Hall. So he was special. He was everybody know he's a great man. He's the most amazing person and very nice man. Very nice man.
that is amazing. Oh my goodness, Harry Belafonte.
Yeah, Harry was cool. First thing he asked me is if I went to church. I say, young man, you go to church? I say, yes, sir. I said, that's good. That's good. So he was a praying man. He was a
Wow. And so, having that experience as your first paid gig in college, what did that do to you and the other people you were working with?
Well, one of the things, my roommate at the time, he was older than me, so he graduated 2 years before me, Frank. And he actually, he both of us were PAs, but he was like a PA that was more closely working with the production coordinators and people like that. So one of the things that he did, He was like, we're going to learn as much as we can. So he would get all the call sheets, production reports, everything, any kind of piece of paper that came across. He would say, Bob, go take this and make copies of it. And I would take it and go make copies of it and put it back. So we had all this. Basically, we were doing research. Not only were we working and doing our job as production assistants, but we were researching. We were learning as much as we could about how to make movies and how the business of making movies.
That's important. That's important. The business of making movies, just like the business of aquatics. It's one thing to have that skill set or have that talent, but if you don't understand the business, like show business,
There's the show,
you're
and
going to
then there's the
have
business.
a problem. Very good to point out. Okay, let's fast forward because we just couldn't just skim over all of that history you were giving us and all these people you met. I just had to break that down real quick. Okay, so let's fast forward. You're back into production. You were telling us about your show. Let's talk about A Holistic Journey, the documentary.
Okay.
And it's on TUBI, which is FREE, if you just want to check out A Holistic Journey. And it is also on Amazon. Am I correct?
Yes.
Amazon. All right. Talk to us about A Holistic Journey, what it's about, who's involved, because we have somebody else involved. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. A Holistic Journey is a travel documentary series where we go around the world to discover medicinal plants, herbs, and natural healing remedies from natural healers. So we shot the pilot in Honduras. The host of the show is a guy named Asami, or we call him Asami. His real name is Alfredo Bowman Jr. And if anybody knows who Alfredo Bowman Sr. is, Alfredo Bowman Sr. is Dr. Sebi. So he's Dr. Sebi's firstborn son. And his wife, Aja, at the time in the pilot, she was Charisse, but now they're married. And so when you guys see the second episode, which is right here, I'm working on it now, getting ready to release the Jamaica episode. Now we call her Aja because they're married now, Aja Bowman and Asami Bowman. But it is a show that we just are curious and we want to know as much about natural healing as possible so that people aren't, dependent on drugs to heal their bodies. It's interesting. I was talking to Asami yesterday and I was telling him, I said, man, remember that pepper elder plant that you guys were washing your hands with in Jamaica? He's like, yeah. I said, do you know what else is good for? Gout and a whole lot of other things. So, for example, last year I had gout in my knee. Basically, I was lying to myself, eating, a lot of seafood and stuff like that. And I healed myself. Basically, I haven't since then. I stopped lying to myself, stopped putting poison in my body, and I haven't had a gout outbreak ever since. But that pepper elder, I told him, I said, man, I just bought 2 pepper elder plants, man. I'm growing them in the backyard because I got, looking outside, I got my African hibiscus, I got my Gynera plants out there, I got my lemongrass, I got some chocolate peppermint, and now I'm gonna have my pepper elder, which is really good for inflammation, and so is the Gynera, really good for inflammation. And I just don't put food in my body that's going to raise my uric acid levels. And if people understood that you can literally heal yourself, it's really all in the diet. It starts with the diet, because you can take all the herbs. I drink a lot of sea moss and all that kind of stuff. You can take all the herbs in the world, but if your diet is jacked up, it's like trying to outwork a bad diet. People who work out and, it's like they can't lose weight because they keep eating, they're working out. It's like, man, I'm working out, but I'm still gaining weight. Well, it's because your diet is jacked up. And the same with with sicknesses. You can reverse illnesses with diet. So when you go down to Usha Village, which is Dr. Sebi's resort in Honduras, they're going to put you on a alkaline diet. And then, of course, the herbs are going to fortify your body. And so those are the things that we're learning about in our show, A Holistic Journey, is all these herbs, on every continent. And that's where we want to go. We want to go to every continent and see how those people who live the longest and healthiest, what they're doing to live long and healthy. And so that's what our show is all about.
Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens when you go to Africa and when you go to Asia.
Yeah.
That's going to be real interesting. So, how many episodes are we going to have?
As many as we can afford to do. Hopefully, like we're going to start getting paid for the pilot, I think, next month, which is great. And we used our own money to shoot the pilot, and we used our own money to shoot the Jamaica episode. So now it's starting to, bear fruit. And then we're going to Cameroon next. We're going to go to all the blue zones. Are you familiar with the blue zones? The blue zones are where the most centenarians in the world are. You have Okinawa, um, Sardinia off the coast of Italy, Costa Rica, which is amazing. And then, believe it or not, Loma Linda,
Wow.
California is a blue zone. And so, of course, we want to hit all the blue zones and just, like you said, Asia, China. We're going to Cameroon next.
So,
And
look, we have to take a quick break. But look, on the other side, Bobby is going to talk to us about what a blue zone is, how many episodes they've shot. And Bobby, I have to get you to give a word to aspiring entrepreneurs or those who are entrepreneurs and struggling. Look, it's the Outlet with Kei-Touch with Bobby Broome Productions right now, BobbyBroomeProductions.com. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Outlet with Kei-Touch with Bobby Broome. We're talking about Bobby Broome Productions right now, BobbyBroomeProductions.com. Bobby, before the break, you were talking to us about blue zones. So educate us. What are blue zones? And you were telling us California had some.
well, the blue zones comes from a book. I can't think of the author's name. The book is in the front room. But the blue zones is a book. And the reason why they call it the blue zones, and you like when you read the foreword, they tell you that when they were actually mapping out the areas that they were going to go and do research, they used a blue Sharpie to circle it on the map. And so that's why it got the name the blue zones.
Oh,
Right. And so it's really just a book about where the people who live the longest and healthiest and where they live. And those areas is for, I mean, there's more areas where people live to be over 100, but this is where the most centenarians are. Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Costa Rica, and then, of course, Loma Linda, California are the four blue zones that they talk about in the book. And I think they even did a documentary um, about the blue zones as well. So, and having our show, we want to not only go to, like, we want to go to Panama and of course Africa and different parts of Asia and things like that. But I want to hit all the blue zones too. That's why I
that's why I
said the
was
blue
asking
zones.
how many episodes are you gonna have. He said as many as we can afford to do. I love it.
It's like
And
if
that's
people
just
like it, we want to share it.
yeah, and what I was thinking about the whole time when you were talking about a holistic journey, which you can find for free on Tubi and Amazon Prime TV, was that the pharmaceutical companies have gotten so wealthy off of us. And when you think about medicine, prescription medicine you take, when you get it from the pharmacy, you always have 3 or 4 pages of information about this one little bitty pill that they want you to take
All the side effects and
every day called side effects. And so when you were talking about healing yourself and eating better, watching what you're eating and healing yourself, that's powerful. That
yeah,
saves you money. Of course, it adds to your life and your quality of life. And you're
yeah,
healing yourself naturally the way your body is supposed to heal versus with something someone created that's going to cause you other problems that you didn't have previously, possibly.
exactly.
Like
And
hypertension.
a lot of drugs actually start from plants, but what they do is they take out the active ingredient in that plant and then combine it with chemicals and other things like that. So the plant is taken out of balance, to make it
Mm,
work faster or whatever. But if you just leave the plant in balance where it is and take care of your body, don't put poison in your body. My my new favorite thing is an app for your phone called Yucca. Yuka. And Yucca, if you're not familiar, are you familiar with Yucca?
I'm not.
Okay, Yucca is a food scanning app. So when
Mm.
you go to the grocery store and you scan the barcode, it'll tell you what preservatives are in it and what's bad, and like what's good and what's bad, right? So like it rates everything on a scale from 1 to 100. So basically anything 50 and above is probably pretty good for you, and they'll tell you that some of the drawbacks, like too much sodium and too much sugar. And then anything under 50 is like, I just throw it in the trash. I don't even buy it or whatever. But it's
Mm.
like, so that's another thing that helps prevent me from putting a whole lot of preservatives and stuff like that in my body, and I'm just trying to however long I have, I want it to be with no pain, because I can go outside tomorrow and get hit by a car, and it'll be over. But if like whatever time God blesses me with, I want it to be as quality as possible.
So YUKA, you can use this app. That's the good thing about technology. You can use this app and scan barcodes. And would you say anything over 50 is trash? You should
No,
not be
anything under 50 is trash,
under 50. You should not
basically.
be consuming.
Right. And
Wow.
the cool thing is that it'll give you so if you scan something and say it's like 33 or whatever, then it'll
Mm-hmm.
give you alternatives of stuff that's better, of products that are better. So it's helpful.
I appreciate that. And before we close, Bobby, again, Bobby Broome Aquatics.com, Bobby Broome Productions.com, serial entrepreneur here that we're speaking to. Any words of wisdom that you could share with entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs?
Well, I would say that first, a lot of people who just have regular jobs, they want to have their own business, but they don't really know how to start it. And for me, it was, I'm really good at teaching swimming, and I know how to make films. That was a career that I had, and I've worked for other people, but in the movie business, you wind up working for yourself. So whatever it is that you're good for, even if it's stringing popcorn on a string, somebody will somebody might need that service. So if you are good at anything, then you have to learn how to monetize it. Um, so if you're good at whatever, in my case, I'm good at teaching swimming. So I went out and taught somebody how to swim. I was writing books and all that kind of stuff. But when I started the business here, I started this actually in California when my daughter was born, and I had to stop working in show business. And I was going from house to house teaching people swimming, and I was aquatics director at the YMCA, all that. But as far as starting it here, I started with one client, and that one client told another and told another. And so before you knew it, I had a whole lot of clients. But if you're good at whatever it is, if you're passionate at whatever it is, figure out how to monetize it. Figure out how to, and there's ways, there's always the YouTube University, right? You can learn and figure out how to do anything on YouTube. Like actually the last 3 days, I was on a webcast on self-distribution, because I have a distributor for the pilot episode, and they're fine and everything, but I'm still an independent filmmaker. I'm not like doing the big $1 million movies yet, although I got a bunch of scripts. Anybody want some scripts? I got scripts. But if you're but there's ways to self-distribute and do quite well. Um, so there's always ways of learning how to monetize your talent and your skill. And then, of course, there's people who can tell you about how to get bank loans and go buy businesses and things like that. There are brokers out there. As a matter of fact, there's a company that I talked to just the other day. They actually sell franchises. So they have like about 70 businesses that, and if you call them, like say you want to buy a Subway, you go out and get the loan, they'll sell you the franchise. So they have about 70 different companies that they sell. So there are companies out there like that. that sell franchises if you want to go that route. But if you have a skill or a talent, then learn how to monetize that skill or talent. And I just, because I don't want to take meetings. I don't want to go to anybody's meetings. I can't imagine working for somebody else. It just doesn't register my thought process. And that's because I worked in show business. As in show business, we were all freelance. So even though you're working for somebody else, you're still freelance. You're still your own boss. You're still an independent contractor. Still got to pay your own taxes and all that kind of stuff. So you go from one show to the next show to the next show to the next show. And even when I worked on episodic TV, it's like I was on the Wonder Years, for example. It's like however many seasons, it's like you're there until the season is over, and then you go work on commercials for a little while. So
wow. Look, that's our time. It has been such a pleasure. Again, BobbyBroomeAquatics.com. There's still time to get that summer session 2 in. It starts toward the end of July. And you can also register for the fall session. And BobbyBroomeProductions.com. Check him out. Go on TUBI. Watch A Holistic Journey for free, or on Amazon Prime TV. Bobby, I have to have you back. I know you told me you were going to be doing a lot of filming this summer, but we have to get you back and talk about this some more. Look, thank you so much for coming on the show, being with me today. I appreciate you.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much. Look, it's the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Until next week, peace.